Hello, band boosters. This is Shauna Naf here to talk to you today about the Dark of December concert. The Dark of December concert is actually one of my very favorite events of the entire year. I have been attending the Dark of December event since my son was involved in the Bellingham Youth Jazz Band, and so it's always been a great way to kick off the holiday season, and it's just one of my favorites. So if you're going to be taking on the role of the coordinator, here are some things that you are going to want to know. So first of all, what is it? It's a concert. It's a collaborative effort between the Bellingham High School Jazz Band, the Showstoppers, and the Bellingham Youth Jazz Band. And it's also a fundraiser for the boosters. It usually takes place the first Friday in December. And it usually takes place at either a church or something like that. It used to take place at the Lutheran Church over on Lakeway. The last year we did it, it was actually that date had been booked by some other group, and so we did it up at the church up on Garden Street. So it was a great event venue, but you know you're going to want to plan that early. So just got to find that right venue. In terms of your role as the organizer, there's a couple of different things that you're going to do. You're going to first need to you're going to have to figure out the venue. Develop the show schedule with Matt Kneggy, Linda Short, and Mark Kelly. And let me just step back for a second. The Bellingham Youth Jazz Band has historically been one of the collaborators on this, but I don't know, because of COVID, what are they doing about practicing? And we're not sure, you know, in terms of 2021, what their situation is going to look like. So you need to, you know, probably reach out sooner rather than later to find out what their role is going to be. Also, as the coordinator, you're also going to be inserting fundraising activities to work within the schedule. You got to coordinate your volunteers. You've got to prep the marketing pre-event, including the program, signage, getting the word out to the marketing folks in the band to post it on like the high school bulletin or the newsletter or something like that. Also, you know, you're going to want to deal with the social media component of advertising. And then of course you are going to need to coordinate the event. So a couple different big ticket items, but there's a lot of people that have different skill sets. So you'll find that you'll be able to outsource some of this, and it could work out pretty well. In terms of the schedule, usually it takes place in the evening. So it starts usually around 7 o'clock and goes till about 9 o'clock, but then you can kind of work backwards and figure out what you're going to need to do when can you set up, when can you put the signage out, when can you set up the tables, when should the desserts get there. So I'll get to all that in a second. But I've given you a lot of documents and a lot of things that you can use to prep your schedule and your plan. The main components of the fundraising is really, you've got the tickets, and that's usually $5 for students, $10 general admission. There's a heads or tails game, which is it's like basically you flip a coin, are you heads or tails, and then the big group that buys in at the beginning gets whittled down until finally somebody at the end wins something. There's also a dessert by donation, so you get a lot of people that donate desserts, and then those desserts are free for everybody, but you're collecting donations, and that usually does pretty well. There's also a raffle, so if you can collect items to be raffled off, that could be like baskets of things. We've put baskets together in the past too, but you know, Costco's got great baskets this time of year, or like different collected gifts. So like an assorted set of coffees, or you've got maybe somebody who works somewhere that can donate something that works out really well. And then what you just do is you sell raffle tickets. And let's say you have 5 different items, you have like a can in front of each one, and then people put their tickets in there to try to win. So they can choose how they're spending their raffle tickets. And then you can also sell blankets at the event. That seems to be a good one because it's right before Christmas, and so you have people who are, you know, thinking about Christmas gifts for their kids, and the blankets are a pretty good item for that. All right, let me go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and move into my planning document. So hang on a second, let me share my screen. So let me actually first show you what you're going to see on the Google Drive, so that way you can figure out where all the stuff is. All right, so this is not just on my computer, but these will be the same folders that you'll see in the Google Drive for Dark of December. There is an ads and marketing, art and marketing folder, and then there's a planning folder. In the planning folder, there's just the one Word document, which I'm about to show you. And then in the art and marketing folder, there's a whole bunch of other stuff and resources as well. Now, I am a graphic designer, and so some of this may feel a little intimidating. So if you need help with this, I really encourage you to reach out to me. I'm very happy to help you kind of redo the program for that year, adjust dates, help with the new Facebook ads and things like that. So let me stop sharing for a second and let me go ahead and share my planning document. So you can see there's a number of different elements to this planning document. So first of all, what I've done is I've included the schedule of what we've done in the past, so that way you can take that as a starting point and adjust from there. I've included the venue setup, so that way you can kind of think about how the venue was structured into different areas. So you kind of have a ticket station. Let me back up. You have sandwich boards directing people in. Then you've got the ticket station where they can either buy tickets for the event, they can buy raffle tickets, they can also do the heads or tails type of thing, donate for the dessert. There's another number of things that they could do with that ticket spot. And then you've got the dessert spot. You've also got the raffle tables, like where you're going to put all the different items. You've got a blanket selling area. And then of course you've got the venue that the music is taking place in as well. So you kind of can think about it in terms of different stations. Then in terms of a to-do list, what I've done is I've assumed that the event is the first Friday in December, and I work backwards from there to give you some checkpoints that you should hit along the way. So you can see here that finding the venue really is first and foremost on the list of priorities. But then come November, you've got to do some things like making sure your marketing is happening. You're going to coordinate with Matt and Linda and Mark and figure out, okay, who's going to do what when. You want to kind of get their schedule. Now, I should say that you may not get the final music schedule until like right before the event, and that's okay. Basically, they've got about, let's go back up here. They basically are doing 30-minute sets with 15 minutes in between. So you've got the Showstoppers, Bellingham Youth Jazz Band, and then the jazz band. So you can kind of think about it as in terms of those 3 sets, and then there's an intermission in between. The big intermission where you do the dessert usually happens in that second intermission. And then you're just going to be verifying certain things with the venue, like making sure, how do they want to handle the garbage? Then you may have to take it with you. Different venues have different things. What about, do they have a fridge for the dessert items if they need to be refrigerated? What about coffee? What about hot water? What tables do they have? Do you need to bring in extra tables? How about tablecloths? Now, in terms of the tablecloths, if you get into the venue, and you definitely are going to need tablecloths, the PTA has got some tablecloths that you can borrow. I would recommend coordinating that well ahead of time, because that was trying to find the person to track it down last time was a little bit of a challenge. So that would definitely be an early November situation if it were me. And then of course you've got to clean them and get them back to the PTA. And then you're going to want to start thinking about your volunteers as well. And I've got some volunteer resources here for you also. You're going to want to think about going to Costco. Traditionally, we had about $100 budgeted for us to provide our own raffle items if need be. It could be that you don't need that. It could be that you've got plenty of people who are willing to step up and donate items for a basket and put things together. So it just kind of depends on you and what you're wanting to do. I didn't want to take on the role of having to go ask people for additional stuff, especially because I wasn't really, my kid had transferred from C-Home, so I didn't really know a lot of the parents. So I kind of just said, forget it, I'm just gonna take that $100. I'm gonna deal with some of these myself. And now I also had other people donate some stuff, so that worked out pretty nicely. And then there's some stuff in the band closet that you can use for the event. So for example, there is a box of like stuff for the ticket table. So that might include raffle tickets, but you're going to want to see how many you've got left. I don't remember. And of course I don't have access to the closet at the moment. So they've also got things like like the ticket things and the pens and stuff like that. So they've got a whole thing that you might need for the ticket table. They've also got things like cans and baskets and things like that you might want to use to put raffle stuff in. Or you may have you may need a big jar for the money for the dessert table. So just kind of go through the closet. I reorganized some of the stuff. It should be like on the top shelf of the closet. And then there's also some stuff just on the, like when you first walk in, just on that shelving unit in front. Let's see here. And I've given you a whole list of things that you should be able to get from the closet. And then in terms of like printing and things like that for the posters and the flyers, if you needed posters for the sandwich boards, I had all that donated. So you may be able to find somebody who has a print shop or an office that can handle an oversized print job. And then you've got some labeling and things like that you need to do. All this, most of this stuff is in the artwork folder. So I'll go through all that in just a second. And then I've just gone through here and talked about how I set up the different areas for that day, like what I did to set things up. I needed one table for this area. This is everything that went on this table. The raffle preview tables, I needed 2 for that. I had the raffle jar. So this should give you kind of an idea where you can start to visualize how it was set up in the past and then customize for your own needs. And then down here, I've got the personnel set up. And this just tells me, like, for each segment, how many people we needed for each of those things, and then what time they had to report in. So like the decorations and setup, I had 4 people. They came to the venue at 4 o'clock and they helped me set up, do all the things that were up above on those checklists. I needed to have somebody there for the dessert donations. And I would recommend that for this upcoming one, that you kind of handle the dessert thing a little bit differently. Let me kind of take you back a little bit. In the past, we had just anybody donating different dessert items, and it could have been cakes, it could have been pies, it was just kind of this whole smorgasbord, and it was difficult to keep it clean, okay? Because you do have cakes, things like that get messy. So I would really recommend in the future to have cupcakes or cookies or things that are not crumbly and messy and creamy, and just think about how much less of a mess that would make. The other challenge too is that we had a situation where you had to have volunteers to actually cut up those cakes and take things out. And in the case of the last church, that kitchen area was downstairs, and then you had to have stuff upstairs. Additionally, personally, I wouldn't want to deal with food handlers permits in the future. So I really think that just having something that's very easy, store-bought, so that way it's clearly labeled, and people who've got allergies can decide for themselves if they want to partake in this. I would just really encourage you to keep it a lot more simple than it has been in the past. And actually, due to COVID, that's a great excuse to move in this direction. The other thing is you're going to want to ask for things that are, in some cases, gluten-free or nut-free. Yeah, have different allergy categories that might be helpful for people. Additionally, I would recommend like in this dessert area thing down here, I would recommend having a dessert captain. This really is a large portion of your income for the evening, and you're already, as the coordinator, probably running around doing putting out other fires. You don't need to be the one who's doing the dessert thing. And what I ran into is somebody had self-appointed themselves the head of the dessert thing, and they were doing things in a way that actually was probably not a good idea. So I really recommend find somebody to run that dessert thing and make life easy for yourself. And because that's also, it's not just about the dessert, it's also if you've got coffee, if you've got hot chocolate, keeping that kind of going and producing, and you just want to keep people happy. Okay, and then you also make sure you get some volunteers to help you clean up at the end of the evening. And then create your own end of night checklist depending on what you've done to set up. Okay, let me stop sharing that for just a second. And now let me go ahead and show you the art. Oh, actually, before this, I'm going to actually show you okay, this is the Sign Up Genius that you used for that volunteer coordinating component of things. And when you are ready to set up your volunteers, you can simply just copy this and create a new event. So I would do that for sure. But you can see here's all the things that coordinated with that other list that I had on the Word document. Really easy. And you can ask people to tell you what they're bringing too. So you can I like take out the tiramisu, take out the cream and fruit pies. Seriously, make your life easy. Cupcakes, muffins, cookies, maybe brownies. Keep it easy. And they may actually have to be individually wrapped next time too. I hope not, but you know, who knows? Let's see, blanket sales, cleanup, all that good stuff. So that's going to be all be in the Sign Up Genius. So just make sure that you get the Sign Up Genius login and password from the president. Okay, now let's go into the artwork folder. Okay, so in the art and marketing folder, I've got these two underscored items up here, which are the logos for the event and the village artwork. Most of these files, well, some of these files, if you can look at them in a view, they are, I don't know if you can see this, but it's white lettering with color on the end of it. So you can use any of these. If you have somebody who understands how to use vector art, which is like an Illustrator or something like that, then you can edit those logos using that. But if you need help, again, I really encourage you to reach out to me. I'm happy to help. And here's your final dark of December blue. So if you just wanted a standalone logo, and then the other ones here. And then the musical notes too, if you want to use that as an element, you can do that also. Okay, under the village art, these are, I think, pretty much all those kind of files. So yeah, so that background on the flyer, which I'm going to show you in just a second, I actually recolored it to red, but if you like the turquoise, that's available too. But then none of the logos match the turquoise, so you'd have to redo the whole thing. That's okay, all good. Okay, in the flyer folder, basically this is just, let me just do a quick little view. This is it's set up for 8.5 by 11. So if you need paper copies of something, that would be what you're going to look at. And let me stop sharing here. All right, so here are the PDFs. So here's your PDF. You can easily change the date on this. There's a publisher file in here, and that's going to give you all of these are just text boxes, so you can change the text boxes. You may not have the font installed, in which case you can adjust the font to something that works, or again, reach out to me, I can help. And then you've got the link in here to the store. Oh, you'll have to, I'll touch on that too. Link to the store, make it really easy. Then you've got a corresponding Facebook event. So that can be created and used as well. And then in this case, this is just more of the graphic that you're using to attract the people to seeing the more details of the event, which you've listed down below. And then we also did the MailChimp for the bulletin. Again, a big graphic, but in this case, actually, I even created an ad. So this whole thing could have been copied and pasted into the email. So just make those adjustments and away you go. And again, here's your link to the ticket. So make sure that that gets updated. All right, so we've already talked about the flyer. There's this dessert by donation sheet, which is just something that you're going to put like in an acrylic stand on the dessert table and just reminds people, hey, you're enjoying dessert? Why don't you make a donation? That'd be great. And then let's talk about the program. So the program also has the publisher file in there, and this is folded, you know, it's folded down. So let me show you the middle. So it's just a vertical, straight up and down in the middle. And then back to this is the front, and then this is the back. And when you actually fold it, it goes correctly. Cover is pretty easy. Then this is what you're going to get from Mark Kelly. The showstoppers usually kind of do their own thing, and it's kind of more of a surprise, at least it had been in the past. So she may give you additional information here, she may not. But here's the Bellingham Youth Jazz Band information, and then the Bellingham High School Band information. So again, you're probably going to get this pretty late, so don't freak out. It's going to be fine. They're going to get you what you need. And then in our case too, we decided that on the very back, and unfortunately this is upside down, but we decided to include the band booster sponsors. Now these are the people that advertised on the back on the side of the truck, I believe. So, but if somebody also gave you some, like did the program for you, printed the program, or did some other printing, that might be somebody that gets included in here too. So you guys can all decide how you want to do that. But if you wanted to talk about like an upcoming trip that you were doing or an upcoming event, something like that, that would certainly be a suitable way to handle this backside as well. Okay, and then the final thing I want to show you is this clipboard sheet, because this really shows you the different things that people can buy. And so on that supplies list of stuff that's in the closet, there are a number of these little tiny clipboards. And so this is just a half-page sheet. And so when people get there, they start filling this out. And that way, this kind of works in terms of accounting as well at the end of the night. But you can, because you can see where people spent their money. And then they can either hand you cash, hand you a check, or you can actually direct them to the Square and have them complete this order online as well. And I haven't really talked about the Square in here, but that might be something that you can coordinate with the treasurer on getting set up. If you're not comfortable with that, it's quite complex and things that changes a lot. So I didn't really want to spend a lot of time on that today, but I'd be happy to help you figure it out when you're ready to tackle this. Okay, well, I believe, let me just check my list. Yes. So that is everything I need to cover for you. It's a great event. It's actually not a hard one to coordinate. Because people really enjoy this event. So I think you'll find that you have a lot of helpers. Again, reach out to me if you need help, shaunanaf@gmail.com, or you can reach me at 360-305-8361. Thank you so much.